Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is a very long overdue video. Did my application tips video a while back, so I'd suggest watching that first, because in order to get an assistant psychologist job you need to obviously make it through the application process first before you're offered an interview. I had so much positive feedback on that application tips video, people saying it really helped them write their application and that they were successful. I'm going to be going through my 5 interview tips in this video, and I'm going to be talking about my interview experience and what questions I got asked. I wanted to thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Babbel. So you guys know, siz biliyorsunuz, Türkçe konuşuyorum, annem Türk. If you've been keeping up with my channel, you would know that I went to Turkey in May for the first time in 3 years because I couldn't go because of the pandemic and I have family out there. My Turkish speaking has gotten so much worse. I feel like going every year regularly pre-pandemic, I was able to sort of keep my language in check. My grandparents, my aunties, they were all like noticing. They were like, Türkçem bozuldu, like your Turkish has gotten worse. And I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. So I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, I know I'm probably going back in a few months time. I really want to brush up my Turkish. I have like 3 months, like how am I going to do this? And then Babbel reached out to me, and they are a language learning service, a lot of languages that you can choose from, and Turkish was one of them. So I was like, I need this in my life. Like, you guys came at the right time. That was my motivation, but there are so many reasons why you would want to learn a new language. It might be for self-development. That might just be a goal that you've always had, is to be bilingual or multilingual. You might be going traveling, going on a holiday soon. You might want to feel more connected to your partner's culture and language. What's great about Babbel is that you can learn in lots of different ways. My favorite way is their app, and that's what I'm going to show you guys quickly. They also have online tutoring classes, they have games, they have podcasts, they have magazine articles. So they have a wealth of different sort of ways for you to learn, so you can pick what works best for you. Their success rate for learning a new language is so high. They use real language teachers, so when I'm learning Turkish, it's by a Turkish teacher. My favorite thing is that you can really customize your learning. You've got newcomer, beginner 1, beginner 2, and then you've got grammar, specials, words and sentences. Just to refresh my mind, I did the beginner 2 course. Also set a weekly goal, so you can set yourself, you know, how many activities you want to do per week. It's really flexible if you want to just do 1 activity a week, if you want to do every day, or up to 9 activities per week. I guess it depends on your goals and your sort of time frame that you want to learn in, and that's what I really like about the app, is you can really tailor it to you. If you guys want to start learning a new language today, it is super easy to do that. I will put the link in the top line of my description box down below, and I actually have an offer for you guys, so you can get 30% off their 6-month, 12-month courses, and also lifetime access. Thank you to Babbel for sponsoring this video. Without further ado, let's get into my interview tips. So if you're at this stage of applying, you probably already know that interviews are really competitive, and I've had 2 assistant psychologist interviews. I wouldn't really count the second one that I had, because it was just to stay in the existing role that I got from the first interview. So just a bit of timeline of events. I was applying, so I worked as an HCA in a psychiatric hospital for like a 1.5-ish after graduating. It gave me like amazing experience, but it was like super stressful. Knew I didn't want to stay in it for a very long time. So I was applying and applying and applying, and just was not getting interviews from anywhere. And then I got an interview offer. So I had that interview in April of 2021, and it was my first ever assistant psychologist interview, and I got it. And I feel like that's not that common. So I really do want to share like what I think helped me get it, because of like employment checks. I didn't start till July 2021, and I've been in the same role for over a year now. How I actually prepared was I just pulled together a huge list of potential questions they could ask me, and I basically just rehearsed like I was revising for an exam. And yeah, how did I know what questions could come up? If you just do a Google search, there are like forums online of questions that could come up. It's all about your mindset. It's all about your mindset, confidence. I'm not gonna lie, for this first interview that I had, I feel like I really manifested it. Like, I would journal about it, I would write in present tense as if I'd already gotten the job. So it was really like a mindset shift for me that this job was already mine. You don't have to go as far as being like delusional like I was and being like, this job is definitely already mine, like this job belongs to me, whatever. But you need to believe that you're worthy of the job in the first place. Like, people DM me and asking me, and I'm just like, listen, if you've made it through the application process, you're already everything they want. They just want to see you in person, or whether it's virtually, whatever. They just want to see that you are really that person. And you are that person, unless you've like completely lied on your application. You are that person, you are qualified, you meet all their requirements. They want you. They want you. So don't ruin your own chances and get in your own head and think, oh my god, I'm not actually not good enough to get this job, or I don't really deserve this job. No, stop that right there, because if you go in with that mindset, they will pick up on it and you won't get the job. If you believe you're not going to get the job, then you won't get the job. If you believe you're going to get the job, you will get the job. Second tip is to be reflective. Tell us about a time you were flexible or like resilient. You don't just want to give the story like, oh, this is what happens and I think this shows that I'm resilient. Girl, you may as well press leave on that Teams meeting right now, because you're not getting the job if you just say, here it is, this is what shows that I'm resilient. No, okay? You have to be reflective. You have to be reflective. So this is the formula, the winning formula. You have to pick a reflective model. So I use the what, so what, now what model. It's called something, I'll put it on the screen. The example that you're giving is the what. You've said it. You now need to take it a step further and go into the so what. So the so what is like, so how did you feel? What went well? What could have gone better? And really just reflect on that experience of what you learned. The now what is, so how has that impacted your career now? And bring it back to being an assistant psychologist. So now I know that as an assistant psychologist, I can have that resilience when I'm doing XYZ or with this aspect of the role. So the what is the example, the so what is why is that important, what's the significance, what did you learn, what were your raw, real reflections at the time, and the now what is bring it back to present and future. How's this gonna help you going forward in your career? My third tip is to use the STAR method. So this is a very common interview technique. They're asking you for an example. So tell us about a time where you were a team player, okay? And you're like, how do I structure this answer well? Use the STAR method. So this is the what section of the answer where you're just outlining the example. So it's situation, task, action and results. So what was the situation? Set up the context. Therefore, what did you have to do? What did you recognize as sort of the priority? What did you have to do? Action, what did you do? How did it go? And results, what were the consequences? So it's just a way to really sort of pad out your answer. Fourth tip is to not be robotic. Relax, take your time. They can tell when you're sort of just reading from a memorized script in your head, even though that is what you do. Like, don't get me wrong, in my first interview, like, I was just regurgitating what I'd rehearsed. But there's an art to it. You have to take purposeful pauses. Always take purposeful pauses. When they ask you a question, always pause. Even if you know the answer that you're gonna give, just say to them, you know, that's a good question. Let me just think about that. When you start to give your answer, again, take pauses. Look like you're reflecting. Look like you're thinking. Like, basically be an actress. Be a liar. And no, don't be a liar. But that was a Love Island reference. Like, if you don't get that, I'm really sorry, and that's really embarrassing for you, not me. Because where have you been? Anyway. Be relaxed. I know that's so much easier said than done because interviews are so nerve-wracking. When you're nervous and you have that adrenaline, your mouth dries up and you just want to like blurt your answers out, speak really quickly, get the interview over and done with. But that's how you're not going to get the job, and it shouldn't be so robotic. Even though of course you're going to rehearse your answers, try to make it seem less rehearsed by taking pauses, taking time to reflect, saying to them, sorry, 1 second, I just have to think about that. That's absolutely fine. They will accommodate for that. My final 5th tip is to always prepare questions for the end. This is again sort of a generic interview tip, but I think it's something really important when you're getting ready for an AP interview. I asked, what are the biggest challenges of the role and what support is offered? What part of your service do you enjoy the most? So yeah, again, asking them to sort of sell it to you a little bit. Final one was just, when can I expect to hear back? I'm also going to share with you guys what questions I got asked, and I'll try to remember how I asked them. I got asked 7 questions in my interview. It varies, but I feel like you'll get asked probably at least 5 questions, and there's normally always a panel, so they'll take turns asking you questions. The first question was an example of where I'd used a psychologically informed approach. I talked about how we used a CBT approach with one of our patients on the ward when I worked as an HCA. Second question really threw me off. A time where I'd been disrespected by a patient or a colleague, and how would I show respect to others, basically. So I think that was kind of them wondering how I would deal with conflict, which if you work in a inpatient setting, you get a lot. So I was like, well, it's fine that I didn't prepare for this because I know how I'd answer this. In that working environment, you've got a lot of hostility from patients at times because it's a stressful environment for them as well. And it was just showing respect by staying calm, having empathy for that other person's situation. And, you know, if I needed to raise it in supervision or to my manager, that's how I would deal with that. The third question was just the typical, like, what skills can you bring to this role? Like, why should we hire you? Like, what are your skills? That kind of question. Next one was a time where I'd been flexible and resilient in the face of a challenge. Next question was, what do I think is the value of teamwork and what are the challenges of working in a team? Next question was like, what range of clients had I worked with? So again, some of the questions might seem really like you can answer them quickly. So what range of clients have you worked with? I was like, I've worked with kids, I've worked with elderly, eating disorders, addiction, male PQ, mixed acute service, mixed adult acute. Like, I've worked with a very broad range of clients because the hospital had lots of different wards. And I could have stopped the answer there, but then it's like, okay, how do I reflect on that? Like, you know, what were some of the challenges of working with certain client groups? What did I enjoy about certain client groups? Really just take all your answers the extra mile. And the last question, which apparently always comes up in AP interviews, is always a question on supervision. So just be ready to be like talking about how great supervision is. Those are all the questions I got asked. Those are my top 5 tips. If you guys have any other questions or there's anything I haven't answered you still want to know, pop a comment down below and we can start a discussion. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to smash a thumbs up down below. Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.